I don't think I have been to any church that say, oh, you're not a vegetarian, you cannot be a Seventh-day Adventist, you're disfellowship from the church. We don't do this, correct? Because the church is not about food. Like we don't disfellow people if they do not return their tithe and they don't give their offerings, because the church is not about money. The church is about Jesus Christ. Amen? And by the way, we all know from, I don't know if you have ever read the Blue Zones book, or if you've seen it on National Geographic and even Netflix. There is a guy who went and he is naming blue zones, the areas in the world where people live the longest. And one of these areas is Loma Linda University in California. And this author went there and he studied their lifestyle, and he discovered that American Seventh-day Adventists live 10 years longer than an average American. And why? Because of their healthy lifestyle. All right? So this is not a fiction. This is a fact. It's a scientific fact that Seventh-day Adventists who practice healthful living live 10 years longer than an average American. All right? So we're going to walk now with Ellen White, and we're going to see how Ellen White received the message and how she applied it to her life. So maybe now this title will be shocking to you. Ellen White, as we're going to see now, she was a great meat eater. All right? Okay. So Ellen White did not address the subject of vegetarianism prior to her major vision on health in 1863. According to her new record, she did not possess great health in her teenage and young adult years during the 1840s and 1850s. And she was weak and feeble, and she was always subject to frequent fainting spells. So Ellen White was very weak and she was fainting all the time. In writing of her experience, she stated, "I have thought for years that I was dependent upon a meat diet for strength." This is what she thought. "It has been very difficult for me to go from one meal to another without suffering from faintness at the stomach and dizziness of the head. Eating meat removed from the time these faint feelings. I therefore decided that meat was indispensable in my case." So Ellen White is saying, before her vision in 1860s, she said that I cannot live without meat. Why? Because when she eats meat, she stops fainting. All right? Now, in 1901, she reflected again how meat was her principal article of diet. So before she got the vision in 1863, Ellen White had always meat. She was always eating meat. She was a great meat eater. Okay? During those early years of her life. Huh? No, 1901. She's reflecting on her early years. Okay, so that was her diet before she received the health vision in 1863. All right, and it's not surprising, therefore, that Ellen White described herself. She described herself, and she said about herself, a great meat eater. Ellen White. She was what? A great meat eater. All right. Now, her first visions, when she received the first vision about health and about living, a healthy lifestyle between 1840s and 1850s, she did not deal with the question of meat. So she did not address the question of meat. She spoke about coffee, she spoke about tea, she spoke about tobacco, but she did not really address meat eating. All right, so her first visions between 1840s, 1850s had nothing to do with meat. And she also, talked about temperance, about self-control. But again, we have no visions of Ellen White prior to 1863 that actually talked about meat. But the only reference to Ellen White regarding eating meat before 1863 was actually a rebuke to a person called Haskell, who came and he said that the church should not eat pork at all, because this is not permissible according to the Bible. So in response to him, this is what she said. She said, I saw that your views, she's talking to Haskell, concerning swine flesh would prove no injury if you have them to yourselves. So she's telling him, keep this for yourself about eating and not eating pork, all right? But in your judgment, but in your judgment and opinion, you have made this question a test. So this guy Haskell is saying, if you eat pork, then you are not a Seventh-day Adventist. And your actions have plainly shown your faith. So for this guy Haskell, that was a matter of faith to him, eating pork or not. If God requires his people to abstain from swine flesh, he will convict them on the matter. If it is the duty of the church to abstain from swine flesh, God will discover it to more than 2 or 3. He will teach his church their duty. So Ellen White is saying, if really the eating of meat, if God really wants people not to eat pork, if God really wants people not to eat pork, God will tell his church, and he will reveal it not only to you, to many other people. Okay, that's Ellen White speaking. So speaking, God did not tell us we can eat pork, no problem. Okay? Now, but not in this quotation that Ellen White neither approved or condemned eating pork. She just left it like very neutral, all right?
Didn't she read the Bible? How is that?
Just, we are walking with Ellen White, okay? Step by step. Step by step, okay? Okay. But Ellen White, even though that she was not approving or disapproving eating meat, she was against Haskell's belief to make abstinence from pork a test of church fellowship, based on the testimony of 2 or 3. Another who must be included among the 2 and 3, so there is another person, one of our pioneers, who actually also became vegetarian, and he followed a healthy lifestyle, is Joseph Bates. And Joseph Bates is the one who discovered the Sabbath truth. And he went also to say Ellen White about the Sabbath, and Ellen White at first she was not really convinced. Okay? So Joseph Bates became a vegetarian before 1844. And it also should be noted that there was a robust health reform movement in America that was advocating vegetarianism before Ellen White's vision. So in America, before even Ellen White received the vision, people were advocating that a vegetarian diet is a healthier diet, before Ellen White received any vision regarding health. And James White, Ellen White's husband, in line with his wife's position, also defended the eating of swine flesh. This is James White, believing that it was not condemned in the New Testament. So James White believed that if you eat pork, it's fine, because in the New Testament, it's not condemned. Furthermore, he noted that Sabbatarians had much greater work to do than to deal with such questions of meat eating that would only distract the flock of God and lead the minds of the brethren from the importance of the present work of God among the remnant. So in the early 1860s, Ellen White's position on meat now would start to change, all right? And after her vision in 1863, she understood the importance of diet and began to promote vegetarianism. But she was not the first one that was advocating a healthy lifestyle. But she helped really the Seventh-day Adventist Church to understand healthful living. So now let us go when she received her vision in 1863. So now Ellen White, from 1863 to 1893, she's going to become a promoter of vegetarianism. Okay? Now Ellen White received her first vision, major vision on health, on June 6, 1863, at the home of Aaron Hilliard in Michigan. And although the vision contains specific instruction concerning the health habits of James and Ellen White in particular, there were a number of general core principles related to healthful living, including diet and meat consumption. And among those were the harmful effects of pork eating and the benefits of vegetarianism. So she wrote that in order to preserve health, temperance in all things is necessary, and she wrote this: the eating of pork has produced scrofula, leprosy, and cancerous humors. Pork eating is still causing the most intense suffering to the human race. So before Ellen White said, we don't know if God wants his church to eat pork. I mean, she did not approve it, she did not disapprove. And when she received the vision from God, she's now starting to promote vegetarianism and to condemn and to disapprove eating pork eating because it's causing suffering to humans. And concerning meat in general, she noted that there are but a few animals. This is what she said. There are but a few animals that are free from disease. They are killed and prepared for the market. And people eat freely of this poisonous animal food. Much disease is caused in this manner. Many die of disease caused wholly by meat eating, yet the world does not seem to be the wisest. So now Ellen White's understanding about eating meat, about diet, is changing. Why? Because God is revealing to her what is healthy and what is not healthy. Now, on December 25, 1865, in New York, Ellen White received an additional major vision on health. And this time, she was shown that health reform had to become an essential part of the Seventh-day Adventist mission. She said, the health reform I was shown is a part of the third angel's message and is just as closely connected with it as are the arm and hand with the human body. I saw that we as people must make an advanced move in this great work. So Ellen White now is not only saying that health is important for us individually, but also the health message is connected to the mission of the church. And by the way, Ellen White said in one of the quotes, she said, you cannot preach the gospel without the health message, and you cannot preach the health message without the gospel. These two have to go hand in hand together. Because if you preach one without the other, then our preaching is incomplete. All right? So Ellen White now is not only promoting vegetarianism, but she is connecting the health message with the mission of the church. And she also urged Seventh-day Adventists to establish their own health institution in order to help people live better and healthier lives. And as a result, Seventh-day Adventists would build medical institutions, publish health literature, and become promoters of healthful living, including vegetarianism. Now, in general, Ellen White followed a vegetarian diet. And after her vision in 1863. But 1 year later, she said that since the Lord presented to her the subject of meat eating in relation to health, she felt the use of meat. Look what she said. She said, for a while it was rather difficult to bring my appetite to bread, for which formerly I've had but little relish, but by persevering I have been able to do this. I have lived for nearly 1 year without meat. So this quote that is really telling us that Ellen White was struggling, because she said, I could not even eat bread. But with perseverance, so I mean that was a struggle for her. It was not easy for her to totally disregard meat. Okay? She continues saying, yet my health has never been better than for the past 6 months. So Ellen White is saying, when I stopped eating meat, I have experienced better health. Actually, I've never felt better. And my former faint and dizzy feelings have left me. My appetite is satisfied. My food is eaten with a greater relish than ever before. I have no trouble with dropsy or heart disease. Okay? So, and then here she says, I have within 8 months lost 25 pounds of flesh. So when Ellen White stopped eating meat, how much did she lose? How much that in kg? How much is 25 pounds in kg?
Maybe 8, 9.
12? Can somebody look at the phone? 11. So Ellen White, when she stopped eating meat, she lost 11 kgs. Okay? So she says, I am better without meat. I have more strength than I have realized for years. So that means that even Ellen White was struggling with meat eating, but she is sharing with us that when she stopped eating meat, she's now feeling much better. She's not fainting anymore. She's not having all this feeling that she used to have when she was eating meat, and now she has more strength than ever. All right? Now, in 1869, she wrote to Edson, her son, that she and her husband James White were strict in their diet to follow the light that God had given them, and advised him to follow the same path. You know, I am sharing this with you because some people say today, oh, you know, this meat eating and this vegetarianism, this is the opinion of Sister White. But what is she saying? She's saying that God has given her this. She didn't wake up one day and she said, oh, it's a good idea for me to promote vegetarianism. I will tell the church to stop eating meat. It was not her idea. It is God who revealed this light to her. And this is what she wrote to their son. She said, we have advised you So look at the language that Ellen White is using. She's not being harsh. This is a letter to her son. She said, "We have advised you not to eat butter and meat. We have not had it on our table. I should hope you would feel that we had advised you for your good, and not to deprive you of these things because of any notions of our own." So what is Ellen White saying to her son? She's saying, I am advising you not to eat meat, and we haven't had it on our table. And I'm telling you this for your own good, not to deprive you. And I want you to know what I'm advising you is not coming from me. It's coming from God. Because it's God who showed her the light. Now, during the same year, speaking at Battle Creek, Ellen White again reported that since she has received the health reform message, she had not changed her course. And this is what she said. She said, I have not taken one step back since the light from where?
Heaven.
So this eat, meeting, and vision is coming from where? From heaven, from God. Upon the subject, that's the diet, first shown upon my pathway. I broke away from everything at once, from meat and butter, and from 3 meals. So now Ellen White, she's not even eating 3 meals anymore. She's eating 2 meals. And that while engaged in exhaustive brain labor. So Ellen White, because she was writing a lot, she was not eating meat, she was not eating butter, and she was eating 2 meals a day. Writing from early morning till sundown, I was a great meat eater. But when faint, I placed my arms across my stomach and said, I will not taste a morsel. I will eat simple food, or I will not eat at all. Bread was distasteful to me. Are you seeing the struggle of Ellen White with diet? I mean, I am a Lebanese. If you tell me bread is distasteful, I was like, really? Because in Lebanon, every single meal you use bread. Bread for us is like, if there is no bread on the table, there is no food on the table. You know? But Ellen White, look, when she is fainting, what she's doing, she's putting her hand across her. She said, I will not take a step back. So she was struggling. Okay, and by perseverance, she overcame her struggle. Yes.
I think it points to a trustworthiness. I'm thinking of in the New Testament where the authors can do things which make them seem reliable. Like telling Pharisees details. You know, for example, in the New Testament where like all of the disciples like betrayed Jesus, like she wouldn't say that if it's not true.
Exactly.
And I think similarly, like her not eating, her struggling, she's not going to have visions about things that she knows that she's struggling with herself. And I think it kind of just points to honesty.
Thank you for bringing this out. Yeah, this is absolutely true. She's being honest. She's sharing with us her experience. Okay, because today many people read Ellen White and they, oh, Ellen White is a prophet. Ellen White is perfect. Ellen White, she never, look, she's a human being. And she struggled with this, all right? And she said, I could, 1 second. Yeah, this is the continuation of this. And she said, I could seldom eat a piece as large as $1 coin. Some things in the reform I could get along with very well, but when I came to the bread, I was especially set against it. When I made these changes, I had a special battle to fight.
Why should we decide so much on bread?
Because I think she was she was used to eating lots of meat and stuff. I don't think she was eating a lot of bread, but when she started changing her diet, she had to eat bread, I think. I don't know. But I don't think, because I think her taste buds were changing, maybe she was craving meat, I don't know. But what she's trying to say is that simple food for her, when she was changing her diet, was not nice. She was struggling. And she said, I had a special battle to fight. Okay, before I carry on, anybody has any question? Yes, go ahead. When she referred to meat, she told nutrition as well, she separated the two. We're gonna come to this. Because last week we talked about fish. We will come to this. Okay, any other question? Yes. Okay, let me give you the microphone. I'll keep it with you, and I will keep one on this side, one on this side. So when you want to speak, we can all hear you, please. So please take this one. And Sister Jessica, please. Thank you. You can use it when okay. Go ahead, please.
I don't think it's a question. I was just taking notes as you were speaking, and I think you mentioned something about that there's a correlation between the health message and the gospel.
Yes.
And it's interesting that Ellen G. White alludes to this because even Jesus also did as well. You see him when he was healing people, there's a correlation with them being healed and him also preaching the gospel at the same time. So I found that very interesting when I wrote it down.
Keep the microphone with you. If anyone on this side wants to pass. Anyone else? Actually, Ellen White said that the health message is the right arm of the gospel. The health message is the right arm of the gospel. Yes.
Just to emphasize that point I was making before, just to be a bit more specific. You know how she was eating pork?
Yeah.
She was eating pork. She's not gonna make a provision later which says don't eat pork. Mm-hmm. So which kind of points to me as an argument for she's getting a vision from God. Yeah. So yeah, just to be a bit more specific about the argument I'm making here. She's lived contradictory to her visions. She's not going to make up visions which contradictory and cause a certain. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Anyone else?
Well, if I was a prophet that I was scared to comply with God. You also you say you just have to go.
Yeah. It's only when you get false prophets, they make up things like I'm gonna have a holy wife and just things that would be, you know what I mean? That seems to be only, I mean a lot.
Yeah, it's absolutely true because we have some prophets that whenever they desire something, all of a sudden there's a revelation from God coming to satisfy. But this is not Ellen White. So she was struggling. Look at this language. She had a special battle to fight. Okay? So far, I think we have come to the conviction that the health message is not Ellen White's opinion. It's coming from heaven, and she was struggling with it. She was really struggling. All right? Okay.
You have a lion, you have a carnivore. Like, how can a lion become a vegetarian out of something? There will be a lot of struggle.
Yeah, exactly.
If you mostly beat the meat in your life, that's your main
Yeah. Okay.
Pastor,
Yes. You can use the microphone so everybody can hear you.
Was Jesus a vegetarian? And if yes, then how about the story of 2 fish and the 5 loaves? Was the interpretation of the 5 fish a bit different? What was interpreted? Just wanted to, yeah.
I don't know if Jesus was a vegetarian. In the Bible, we know that Jesus ate fish when he was resurrected, and he asked, "Give me some fish to eat," correct? And when Jesus visited Abraham with the two angels in Genesis 18. Abraham cooked a lamb for him, and Jesus ate the lamb. Correct? So, I mean, Jesus ate meat, he ate fish, but as we're gonna see now, you know, in the days of Jesus, there was no pollution. I mean, like today. They did not inject the animals with hormones. I mean, it was much healthier to eat. Yeah, yeah. So times are different. Remember last week what we said about present truth? Present truth is the truth that applies to us today. Today, if you, I said this to you. When I went to Malaysia, to Aman, a wonderful Adventist wellness center, and there people come from all over the world because they want to change their lifestyle. And one of the nights we watched a video, a documentary about how they produce meat. And I'm telling you, when I watched this documentary, you know what I said to myself? I said, praise the Lord. I don't know. I'm sorry to use this word. It is absolutely disgusting. I mean, it was horrifying, you know? And it was in this documentary, there was only one person who was actually treating the animals properly. He was feeding them grass. They were very organic, and people used in the States, they used to drive 20, 25 hours, especially to go to this person to buy the meat because they knew that this person treated the animals properly. But all the majority, because you need to remember that this is a business. You think people who their main objective to make money, they care about your health? They care about how they treat the animals? They don't care. They just want to sell and they want to make money. You live, you die, they don't care. As long as the money comes into their pocket. All right? Okay. Okay, let's continue. So, Ellen White's decision to follow a meatless diet was not without personal struggles. She was really struggling. However, as she attested many years later, following the health principles revealed to her in 1863 was a great blessing. And she was enjoying a better health at the age of 66 than during her youthful years. All right? I think we still have one more here. Okay. So she says over here, the first 2 or 3 meals I could not eat. I said to my stomach, you may wait until you can eat bread. In a little while I could eat bread and graham bread too. This I could not eat before, but now it tastes good and I have had no loss of appetite. Now, although her habitual practice was to avoid eating meat, listen to this, there were times when she used meat. So Ellen White said, I don't want to eat meat, I want to avoid meat. But there were times that she ate meat. Right? So let's continue reading. Ellen White sometimes departed from her usual meatless diet while traveling. Being a major leader of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, she and James White traveled quite extensively. Traveling in the 19th century, however, was not as convenient and comfortable as today. It was more difficult, right? And under such circumstances, as Roger Kuhn rightly observed, it was difficult, this is what she was saying, it was difficult and sometimes impossible to follow a strictly vegetarian diet. So when Ellen White, because she was traveling a lot, and today you book an airline ticket, correct? And they tell you, what do you want to eat? I'm a vegan. So you choose a vegan meal, and they will offer you a vegan meal. But in the days of Ellen White, that was not the case. And because she was traveling a lot, she was going from one place to another. Sometimes it was impossible to remain vegetarian. Okay? All right. Then, related to the traveling issues, that was the wise dependence on the hospitality of fellow believers. So when they used to travel, they used to go to Seventh-day Adventist homes, and they used to receive them, and they used to feed them. And since the majority of them were poor, it was difficult for many to disregard meat entirely. So they knew the message, but because they were poor, they could not disregard meat entirely. Plus, fruit and vegetables were available only in season back in those days. In 1878, for example, Ellen White described how they had spent Christmas with a poor family in Texas. This is what she said. She said, we had, listen to Ellen White. Okay? So she wants to be a vegetarian. She wants to avoid meat. But you know that sometimes, she cannot. Listen to what she's saying. We had a quarter of venison cooked and stuffing, she wrote. It was as tender as chicken. We all enjoyed it very much. Okay? There is plenty of venison in the market. I think that's a kind of a meat. I have not seen in years so much poverty as I have since I have come to Texas. Brother Moore has had poor health, and he has nothing, not a cent to get provisions with. We must help the family, or they must suffer for the very necessaries of life. So Ellen White went to this poor brother's home, and this poor brother cooked Ellen White some meat as tender as chicken, and Ellen White said, I enjoyed it so much. Ellen White did not stand up and say, you brother, you are unfaithful. She didn't say that. She recognized that they were poor. She didn't even say anything about it. She actually ate the food and she enjoyed it.
But what's so funny? Nowadays, if you're poor, you can afford only lentils and beans.
Exactly.
Not meat.
Yeah.
At that time you're poor, you can have meat.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite. You cannot even compare sometimes the times because we live in different times. That apply to the current context. No.
In another letter from 1895, while living in Australia, Ellen White described again that many Adventist families were prevented from having a meatless diet because of poverty and difficult conditions. She said, I have been passing through an experience in this country, Australia, that is similar to the experience that I had in the new fields in America. I have seen families whose circumstances would not permit them to furnish their table with healthful food. Unbelieving neighbors have sent them in portions of meat from animals recently killed. They have made soup of the meat and supplied their large families of children with meals of bread and soup. And look what she said. When she was observing all this, look what she said. Please pay careful attention. She said, it was not my duty, nor did I think it was the duty of anyone else to lecture them upon the evils of meat eating. So Ellen White recognized that there is evil in meat eating. But at the same time, she recognized in her time that there are people that they cannot afford a meatless diet. And what did she say? She said, it was not my duty to lecture them about it. Why? Because if she does, she will make them feel guilty and she will put them in a very difficult position because they cannot afford it. And that's why last week, remember what we said? We said, eating meat is not a sin. Okay? So Ellen White said it was not my duty to give them a lecture about being vegetarian, even though she recognized that there was evil in eating
One moment, please. We have
meat.
a-
Yes.
we have a comment.
Just a remark.
Yeah.
Regarding bread.
Mhm.
I just found randomly an article regarding the wheat, the wheat, time, there were only three sorts. The ancient varieties einkorn, hammer, and spelt.
Okay.
Three different types form.
Okay.
Now, it not only played an important role as a source of food, but became the ancestors of the modern varieties currently grown worldwide. So here, one is Triticum estivum and Triticum durum. Now, I'm going further down. For example, there are more than 25,000 varieties of Triticum estivum now. So most of them are produced artificially by genetic modified or genetic modification. So these are not natural corns, not natural wheat. So therefore, most the most sorts of bread you see in the market or whatever, you can sure this is not the natural corn used approximately 150 years ago. And what our bodies does, how the metabolism works with the genetically modified wheat or crop is a different question because they are not designed to satisfy the needs of our body. They are designed to satisfy their market presentation, right? So this is a different purpose of producing genetically modified cultures. So now it's very difficult to say, okay, let's become vegans, vegetarians, and eat genetically modified vegetable and fruits, not knowing what we are doing to our bodies. It's just a remark. I am not saying eating meat is a good thing. Yeah. Contrary to that, we had a discussion last time that eating meat is not natural for the body, for the physiology. I'm not sure if you are aware of that, but meat produces sour blood, sour environment in your body, which actually significantly compromises the immunity. The immune system is not able to work and protect you if your body is sour. We have the human body has a pH of 7.4, which is basic, and the meat produces sour blood, so it is the opposite. And then that's why quite a lot of functions don't work. And we know that every each one of us produces tumor cells, and the only way to get rid of them and not get sick is the ability of the immune system. But if you block the immune system to be capable to detect and eliminate the tumor cells, so the tumor will grow. And that's why what she already described 150 years ago. So this is fact. Medicine knows that
she mentioned about having bread, and I feel like she's speaking about bread being positive. But in our context, bread's kind of like a bad guy, which I think is what you're speaking to.
Unless
So,
you make it yourself.
unless you make it
Buy
yourself, I guess.
flour, and you can still buy the same flour that you use
Yeah.
yourself.
And I'm wondering to what extent time and context just kind of makes a difference to what's healthy, I guess. Yeah.
Earlier you said that the meat eating is not a sin as men. And the quote from last week about tea and coffee being a sin. So tea and coffee, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay.
Or
So-
anybody else?
Yeah, but also she says evils of people. So evil, this is sin, evil, sin, isn't it synonymous?
You know, that's a good question. You know, last week, for those, I think the majority of you were here, we said very clearly that eating meat is not a sin. And we said that then we read this quote about those who have the opportunity to be vegetarians, but they decide not to be vegetarians. The sin is not in the meat eating, the sin is in the attitude. That refusing what God is telling us to do for our own good. Okay? So, you know that Ellen White once, she was on a boat and she felt dizzy. She was, you know what she drank? A cup of coffee. Okay, so what I'm saying is the use of coffee and tea becomes a sin when you depend on them, when you use them heavily. You know, for example, today, I'm sure where you all work, maybe the majority of people, they go to work, they cannot start their day without a coffee. Correct? Yeah. Yeah, they cannot function. You know, they cannot function. Why? Because their body is used to it. It's because they are being dependent on this substance and becomes addictive. And that's the sin. I mean, there is nothing sinful in the coffee and the tea itself. I mean, Ellen White, as I told you, she was on a boat and she was busy because of she had sea disease, and then she drank a sip of coffee and she was okay. My teacher in Lebanon, Pastor Raja, he once in Egypt, he was doing a seminar and he was very, very sick. He felt very sick. And one of the church members said, I will give you a glass of cognac, you will drink it, and I promise you that the next day you will wake up. And so Pastor Raja, because he had seminars, and he said, okay, I'll take it. The next day he woke up as if he was never sick. Did he drink it because he was used to it, or he drink it as a medicine?
Medicine.
And he never put it in his mouth ever again. So I'm telling you that these substances in and of themselves are not a sin. But, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying go drink alcohol. No. I lived in the nightlife for 20 years, and I can tell you that alcohol has no benefit for me. But you know what we need to recognize, that if somebody sometimes, for example, has something and he has to drink a sip of coffee or just, like once in a blue moon, this is not a sin. But today, for example, we have many other things that replace, if you feel something, you don't have to take coffee, you don't have to drink tea. Back in the days, maybe the medicine was not so advanced as today.
So is it better to take medicine or coffee?
I don't know. I hope that I will not have to take any of them. Yes.
So Michaela here mentioned context.
Yeah.
And so this is from the book George. It's a statement from, so there's a book from George Knight called How to Understand Ellen White. Me and you spoke about that book. And in one of the chapters, the chapter is understanding the ideal and the real. But he quotes here Ellen White from Three Selected Messages, which I think is interesting. So this is Ellen White from Three Selected Messages. she says, select from the testimonies, or she's speaking about people, so I'm going midway through the sentence. She's speaking about people who select from the testimonies the strongest expressions and without bringing in or making any account of the circumstances under which the caution and warnings are given, make them of a force in every case. Do people get that? Shall I repeat it? Shall I read it again? Okay, so Ellen White is writing here in Three Selected Messages, and she's talking about people. The quote starts here. Who, quote, select from the testimonies the strongest expressions and without bringing in or making any account of the circumstances under which the cautions and warning are given, make them a force in every case, end quote. It seems that Ellen White had an issue in her own time where she's writing a statement to one person in a forceful manner because maybe they need that. And it's then used in another context in which it doesn't need to be as forceful. Because I'm thinking like tea and coffee, for some people, I want to say, stay away from tea and coffee. Some other people feel like, I just don't need to give strong advice. Like Michaela, for example, I don't see her getting addicted to coffee. But just some people use, I get more worried about them, you know what I mean?
No, but like you both selected messages and messages.
Yeah.
Like that quote, I don't know, I can't remember where it was from, but was it the quote?
Where I'm reading now.
The quote about doing something like was that? Like a letter to a person.
I don't know. Yeah.
But it's all about, it's a, I feel like it's
Because your original question was, how can meat be bad? How can meat not be bad? But the mom